Jagex just hosted their Winter Summit, which means we got to take a peek at all of the upcoming content for 2026. So, let's talk about it. First up, we have got Deadman Annihilation. You can see the date right up here on screen. I mean, it's just a couple days away. January 30th is when this is going to start. If you're unfamiliar, this is a temporary game mode. It's going to last 3 weeks. It gives you super increased XP rates, 10 times, 15 times, 20 times XP in some skills. You've got increased drop rates on rare items, and PvP is enabled almost anywhere. Now, I know for a lot of you, if you're like myself, you're not very good when it comes to PKing. That probably sounds scarier than it actually is. They've made a lot of changes this year, which are making it more casual friendly. And while I'm not going to go in detail in this video, I am going to have a separate video where I dive into all of the changes this year for Deadman mode. So if you want to know what those are, I'll link that somewhere up here. But just know, this year, you don't have to risk really anything to play, and it is very centralized on gaining points. So if you like leagues, you're probably going to like this version of Deadman mode. We get a huge list of sigils that we can unlock, which are essentially like relics from leagues. They give you different buffs, capturing multiple chins, having your health restored faster, all kinds of stuff. And these are permanent buffs as well that you unlock with the points that you're going to earn as you're going through Deadman mode. And you might be wondering, how do you earn points in this mode? Well, you've got basically doing anything in the game. Breaches, leveling up, collection log items, clue scrolls, diaries, achievements, boss kills. So there's a lot. Basically just interacting with the game in Deadman mode is going to give you points. So again, if this interests you, I'll link that video somewhere up here. But this is coming really soon, so get ready for it if you aren't already. Next up on the roadmap, we have got the next league. Yes, it is finally time. League 6 is coming, and it is going to be here sometime in April. And again, I'm sure most of you are familiar with what this is, but quick rundown, it's another temporary game mode. It's going to last 8 weeks, so 2 months. Again, you get those super increased XP rates. You're going to unlock superpowers along the way that just make you really OP. It's a great time. And while they haven't given us a whole lot of details for this year, we already know this is going to be Yama's league. You can see here, like in the picture, we got Yama. He's captured the sage. He wants a part of this. And there are a couple of cool things that they've shared with us already. We're going to be keeping the area locked mechanic like we're used to. So we'll have some sort of starting area, and then we'll be able to pick up to 3 more areas. We're going to have the same picking mechanic at the start for our relics. We don't know what those 3 relics are going to be, but that part is going to remain the same. And we are also going to see a return of Echo bosses. Now, it may not be all of the same Echo bosses, and it's definitely not going to be all of the same items that came from the Echo bosses last year. So this is going to be fresh coat of paint on all of this, which these were really cool. This was a really cool part of the last league, so I'm excited to see what they do with it. Now, some of the things that are changing with this league, we're not actually starting in Mistland. So if you love Lumbridge Castle, if you love Scurious, say goodbye, because we're starting somewhere else. Now, the sort of obvious choice for where we might be starting would be Kuren, because that's where Yama's cave actually is. But they have mentioned that this Yama is going to be in his own separate instance, so really the starting area could be anywhere. And they haven't told us where yet, so we'll see, but we do know that Karamja is still going to be a free choice. And I bet we'll get it at the start, kind of like we have in the past leagues. And one other cool thing that they mentioned was with the combat masteries, what they're calling demonic packs right here. They've hinted at this being something more akin to like a skill tree. Last year when we had combat masteries, you would earn a point and then you would put it in line for whatever combat style you wanted. So you'd go down, the range route, you'd go down the mage route or the melee route, whatever you wanted, and you could end up with, like a 5-5 split or maybe like a 6-4 split, something like that. And that was cool. But I really love the idea of skill trees. If you're familiar with RPGs, you put a point in something and then it kind of opens up, right? So you put a point at the bottom tier and then that opens up a couple more options. And then you pick up another point and then it opens up a couple more options. So that's how you get that tree effect. And I'm really excited to see how far they go with that, because that could mean a lot of really interesting build potentials there. But since they didn't give us too much, I won't speculate too much either. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm sure we'll be getting more information as we get a little bit closer to April, which I am definitely going to cover. If you want to be kept up to date on all the league's information, definitely make sure to subscribe. The last shout out that we have for this league is there isn't going to be any sailing. The same for the Dead Man mode. There's no sailing yet. It's just a little bit too new. So we won't be seeing this involved in any of the seasonal modes this year, maybe next year, once it's had a little bit more polish. Man, what a stacked first couple of months. We are going to be so busy with all these seasonal modes. Now, as we move into summer, we are getting a summer sweep up. We've had one of these every year for the last couple of years, where they basically do a whole bunch of quality of life, a bunch of different improvements to things within the game. We saw things like the elemental masteries expanded, combat balancing, certain items being reworked, Slayer got its own like huge cleanup as well. That's all taken part as one of these sweep ups. Now, they haven't actually said what they want to do for this year, so if you have something in particular that you want the team to look in on, then now's the time. Share it on Reddit, put a comment on it, put a comment down below, do what you have to do to just let people know, try to get some traction for whatever ideas you've got for what you'd like to see them sweep up. And I know some of you are very passionate about this, so get at it, now's the time. Also during summer, we are going to have Deadman All-Stars Season 3. This isn't exactly a game update, so I won't spend a lot of time talking about it, but I personally really enjoy watching these. It's a week-long event, a bunch of content creators come together, and they have a private Deadman mode world, fight it out, build up their accounts, and they're actually doing a live finale this year in Chicago. So for anyone in the US who wants to go, that could be a cool opportunity as well. So definitely something to keep in mind. Now, in the back half of summer, we are finally getting Blood Moon Rises. Now, last year, this was on the roadmap, planned for the early part of 2026, so it has been moved back a little bit, but there is a ton coming with this, so bear with me. Blood Moon Rises is the final quest in the vampire quest line. So we've already broken into Darkmire, we killed off some big old scary vampires, and now we are going to be traveling to their homeland of Vampirium. Gosh, what a great freeze frame right there. Now, they haven't given us the quest requirements just yet. We probably won't get those until we're a bit closer. But they say several 70-plus skills, above 110 combat. If it's anything like the other vampire quests, then we can probably expect a couple of big boss fights. So hopefully you're ready for that. I actually thought Sons of a Father's boss fight was somewhat challenging. I know it's not like crazy for quest bosses, but quest bosses also aren't normally that challenging. So I think the vampire quest line was kind of up there. And I'm expecting even harder bosses since this is the finale of this quest line. And of course, because this is such a big quest, this is such a big moment for the vampires, we're getting access to an entirely new area, kind of like what we did with Darkmire. There is just so much stuff coming with this. Of course, we've got to have a flail upgrade. So this is coming off of the Blisterwood flail. I'm calling it now. They're going to call it a Bloodwood flail. You'll see why I say that here in a minute. But this is the new best in slot flail. It's not crazy strong compared to the Blisterwood, but it does have 1 extra prayer bonus and 20% more accuracy. So against things like the Firewatch Sentinels, which are already quite tanky, I think you're going to feel it quite a bit. So whenever you're AFK there, hunting for blood shards or whatever, this is going to be really nice for that. There's also going to be a new spec weapon that comes from this quest. It's going to be a 2-handed weapon. And while it's a little confusing with the way that they talk about the stats here, uses 50% spec energy, it deals 70% of the max damage on a successful hit. But if the HP is lower, it will instead roll 70% of its maximum accuracy. I'm not a math guy, but essentially what this reads to me is if an enemy is low health, it's intended to kill them. It's intended to finish them off. And particularly if it's a tanky low health enemy. So I know the example in here that they use are like the Vampire Sentinels because they are pretty tanky enemies. So maybe you get them down to like 30 HP, you whip out this 2-handed spec weapon, and you just lunge at them, and it finishes them off. So I can't tell how good this thing is going to be. I'm a little skeptical that it's actually going to have some use, but I suppose if you're not AFK at something like Firewatch Sentinels, then maybe it will. I think it'll depend exactly how much damage it's going to do, what that threshold of HP is. But either way, now we're moving into the rest of the land of Vampirium. Those were just the quest rewards. So of course, with a new area, we're going to have new like passive critters running around. They all look disgusting, which is intentional. Oh my god, they've got a cinematic thing where they go over some of this stuff. If you've got time, definitely check it out on the Old School channel. Oh, this area is just, it's gross. Everything is like blood sucking. It's horrible. I hate it. But it fits the vampire quest line, but I hate it. So we are going to get a couple of different skilling methods, and we are going to be getting some critters as well. So first up, we've got bloodwood trees. This is like a mid-range 70s woodcutting requirement, and it says it's going to need a different method to woodcut, so it must not be just chopping with your axe. There's going to be something else going on alongside this. The XP is not the greatest. 50 to 60k woodcutting XP an hour if you're like passively sitting there. If you're a little more active, you can potentially get up to 80, 90k. But the big draw for this is you are going to be getting a new thing, which is the bloodwood sap. And that is used to make this next thing, which are seeker arrows. Now, seeker arrows are an upgrade to any existing arrow, so it's going to increase the ranged accuracy by 23, and it's also going to bring the minimum hit up by 2. Now, there's 2 ways that you can use this. One is using the sap on logs and then turning the logs into arrow shafts and then making arrows like you normally would, so then they'll be seeker arrows. It sounds like that is going to be the best way, or at least the best return in terms of how much sap you get to arrows, but you can also use this sap directly on your existing arrows. So if you've got like a huge stack of amethyst arrows on your Iron Man, don't worry, you can still turn them into seeker arrows with the sap. You don't have to go and make a whole new stack of arrows for him, which I think is really nice. I'm glad they did that. I don't know about you guys, but I have a large stack of arrows, and particularly for dragon arrows. Dragon arrowheads are a pain in the butt to come by sometimes. But overall, these are going to be really cool because it's just going to mean that when you're using arrows, you're going to hit more consistently. So it'll just feel that much better without really making it significantly more powerful, since all of this benefit is more so on the low end. Although maybe some of the math folks among you can calculate just how good of a DPS increase this is going to be, because maybe I'm underselling it. Next up of the skilling methods, we have got Stimfikes. What an odd name. This is a new hunter method. It has essentially 2 phases that you hunt in. So the first phase is active, requires 76 hunter, and then the second phase is more AFK, and it requires 82 hunter. They say in here that it's going to be close to red chins in terms of XP an hour, and those are ballpark around 110k XP an hour, so it'll be decent. It doesn't have any rewards tied to it specifically, so it's more so just a change of scenery when you're hunting, I think. We're also getting a new fishing method, which is leech fins. Have I said I hate this area? I hate leeches, dude. This is going to be, again, in that 70s range for requirement. It's giving you 60k fishing XP an hour, so it's like kind of middle of the road in terms of a fishing method, but it is also giving you access to a new food material, which is going to be the leech fin sandwich. Now, as a food item, this is really interesting. So it works similarly to a Karambwan in the sense where you don't have the same attack delay as if you ate normal food. You can't use it as a combo food, but it doesn't slow you down from like swinging your abyssal whip right after eating. It also is going to make you, it is also going to delay you from eating more food by quite a lot. So you can't go like shoving sharks down your throat every 4 ticks like you normally would. It pauses you there for just a little bit. Now, in return for this, it's healing you 16 when you initially eat it, so it's okay, but then it causes your next successful melee hit to heal you another 16. So it's essentially a 32 heal if you're doing something melee, which, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of like a good food, maybe for, you know, some like passive slayer type of stuff. I could see using something like this. There might be some different bosses that are already fairly low in terms of defenses where you get some benefit here, or, you know, stuff like Vorkath where you might be using a Dragon Hunter Lance. You know, maybe something like this would be useful there. So I think there's going to be a lot of interesting places where this fits in. And I do like that they keep adding these kind of like weird potions and weird foods, and it's diversifying the way that these all kind of interact with each other. It just makes it really interesting. Now, that is it from the skilling side of things. So now we're moving on to the critters that are coming with this. And first up, we have got the Venators. These require 74 Slayer, and they're basically task only, though they do hint at there's going to be a way to sort of kill them off task. Like, as you've killed them on task, you build up a little buffer of them that you can kill off task. So we'll see how well that balances out. But the way that I read this, essentially just assume that it's on task only, because that's the most reliable way to kill these. Now, what this is intended for is to make it a little less annoying to go for blood shards. So they're going to be slightly tougher than vampire sentinels that you have in Darkmire, but they're also going to drop blood shards a little bit more frequently, and because they're Slayer task only, it should hopefully be less crowded than what you see in Darkmire. Because, man, I mean, there's just a ton of people in Darkmire. So I really like the idea of this. I really hate having to hop around and compete for spots when going for blood shards. So hopefully this works in the way that they're describing. The other big critter that we're going to get is the Maggot King and his Maggot army. Oh, God, just look at the... It's so gross, dude. I don't want to stay on that picture too long. Oh, my God. We are going to get 2 big rewards from this boss. He's going to be a solo boss, solo instance boss, and the first big reward that we're going to get from him is the Crimson Bludgeon. This is going to be a new, kind of like mid to high tier crush weapon. It's not necessarily the best in slot crush, but it's pretty well up there. And it's actually got a really cool special on here as well. It uses 50% special attack, and it's going to do 4 accuracy rolls to determine how much damage it's going to do. So you can see here, the more rolls that it's successful with, the more damage that it's going to do. So this is going to be especially good on enemies that are weak to crush. And if you like the Fang, I mean, the Fang itself as a weapon has like that double accuracy roll, and I know a lot of people really love that. Granted, this is just the special, but man, I mean, this thing is like guaranteed to hit. And if it's something weak to crush, you're doing some pretty good damage with it as well. So I'm pretty excited to see where this is going to get some use. They give examples here for some crush bosses like Nightmare Vedion and Araxor. I guess it depends how hard it is to farm out this boss, this ugly looking thing, but man, what a cool design on that as well. And you can already see it here, the other reward, the Necklace of Pursuit. This is going to be a best in slot range necklace. It's going to work kind of like how the Rancor did when Araxor came out. You're going to get an untradeable item that you then attach to an Amulet of Anguish, which is going to take 84 crafting, and that is going to turn into this Necklace of Pursuit. So you're upgrading the existing ranged necklace. Now you can see the stats here in terms of how this compares to the Necklace of Anguish. This has got an additional 7 range accuracy, 3 range strength, and 1 extra prayer. And honestly, 3 range strength is probably enough for a max hit in a couple of different places, so I'm sure that this is going to be really good. Now, I am a little surprised that they went for a new best in slot range necklace upgrade, but whew, all right, now we are at the end of everything for Blood Moon Rises. Man, I tell you, it's a lot of stuff. I guess we also got a fair amount of stuff with Darkmire, so I'm not that surprised by it. But let's jump back over to the roadmap. In Autumn, we have got... Autumn is going to be a little bit on the lighter side. We're going to have Runefest in October for anyone who wants to attend that over in the UK. And we're also going to be getting the Bingo community feature, which they showcased in Gridmaster, if you played through that. Now, I might be trying to plan something around this, so make sure to join the UJack Discord if you want to be kept up if we end up doing a clan event around this using the new Bingo feature. But that's it for Autumn, so we'll be nice and recovered. We've finished up Blood Moon Rises, and then we'll be moving into Winter, which is when we are getting OldSchool's 4th raid, the Fractured Archive, which is going to be a Guthix-themed raid. They've got this cool, like, cinematic thing. Definitely check it out on the OldSchool channel if you haven't already. That just gives you a little teaser into this raid. They haven't given us a ton yet, so we're probably going to see more information on this specifically once we get to the Summer Summit later in the year. But the couple of things that they have given us, it can be soloed, but they're looking to make it 2 to 8 players, and it's also going to function in a similar way to how TOA does it. If your team wipes, it reduces the rewards, but you can still keep going through the raid. It'll make it really accessible for folks. It is also going to require While Guthix Sleeps, so you're going to have to do that quest in order to access this raid. If you've seen the spike in the Guthix teleports, this is why. People are suspecting that the raid is going to be down in the cavern with the Tormented Demons. So we'll see. Also, Misthalen raid, that would be kind of wild for like just being in the starting area. Now, they did give us a couple of concept art pieces just as some teasers. And I mean, this skull looks sick, dude. This is going to be one of the bosses in here. That is just, it's so cool. Also got this night dude running around. Another one of the bosses that are in the raid. But again, Not a lot of details here, so not much to say at the moment. I'm sure we'll hear more, though, later this year. Now, while that's the end of all of the major things on this roadmap, we actually have a second roadmap for sailing, and there is one other thing I want to talk about before we jump over to that, and that is going to be the free-to-play cow boss. They didn't say exactly when this is coming, just some point in the year. Oh my god, it's hilarious. I actually kind of like seeing free-to-play get a little bit of love, and a cow boss seems pretty fitting. There are going to be quite a lot of rewards that come from this too. Most of them are untradeable, but you've got things like the Cowbell Amulet, which is going to let you teleport to the East Cow Field and also milk a cow one tick faster. That's pretty wild. You're going to get some different cow slippers, which these are all going to be tradable. We've got the Muleta, which is basically like a steel defender. So this is actually going to be best in slot melee offhand for free to play. So we're going to see a bunch of Chads running around in their cow slippers with the Muleta on. And then we've also got a rump steak, which heals 10, so it's like tuna, and then a bottomless milk bucket as well. So just kind of cool. I'm glad to see that we've got another little free-to-play boss coming. Kind of like when they added Obor and Bryophyta. Now, for the other roadmap that we've got, sailing. Sailing actually got its own dedicated roadmap for this year. So if you've really liked the new skill, then you're in for a good treat because they've got a lot planned for us. In the early part of the year, they're working on combat. I know that this has been a big pain point for a lot of people. Hopefully what they change here can help address the feeling. Boat combat has been pretty annoying. It's not that fun to do. Now, they talk about maybe making cannons more in line with ranged weapons. So wearing things like ranged armor will increase your accuracy. If you have range strength bonus, it'll increase the damage on those cannons. And they also talked about reducing the attack speed, but upping the damage that they do. So they'll feel a little bit more of a pop, like you would expect from a cannon. I don't know in practice how this is going to feel, because I already feel like the cannons are kind of slow, but I guess the big problem I have with them personally is that the damage feels really low for how slow they are. So if they're consistently hitting high, I wouldn't have that much of a problem with them being slow. Sort of like a two-handed weapon, like a God Sword smack. But I think it's really going to depend on if we see something that maybe like they have an increased minimum hit or something like that. But I'm sure they'll be communicating with us more as they make these changes. They're also going to make cannonballs easier to acquire. They are splitting them from how they work now. Right now, the cannonball mold, you just use it with all of the bars. They're going to have a dwarven cannonball mold, so that'll be the steel cannonballs that we already have. And then we're going to have a ship cannon mold, and this is going to allow you to make more ship cannonballs per bar. So if you're stockpiling a bunch of cannonballs, it might be too late, but you may want to sell them. I think the prices are going to drop quite a bit if they haven't already. They're also looking to make the dragon cannon barrel a little bit easier to obtain, so they're going to add a new sea creature, which is going to be another high-level kraken out here that can drop the dragon cannon barrel, so that way you don't have to get it through salvage. Though, I'm a little skeptical on this because of how combat is now. So, if the combat rework makes it feel a lot better, then maybe this will actually be a good way to get it. Salvage is pretty AFK, so although it's very rare from the salvage, probably still what I would prefer personally, but it would be nice to have a variety as long as these aren't just a pain in the butt to kill. Because, man, everything sailing combat right now is just such a pain in the butt. And then as we move into the summer, we are going to get a new entry into the Tortugan questline, the Red Reef. They hinted at this is going to involve some more ship combat, so they wanted to wait to release this until after they've reworked that piece of it, which is nice of them. And they also want to have NPC boats that you can fight on the sea, so another type of enemy. This makes me think there's like the pirate boats or the charter ships that you see. Man, can you imagine if a charter ship starts taking shots at you? That'd be kind of fun. Maybe if you take them down, you can get some of Trader Stan's loot or something. They've also got the player design island. You may remember having seen this a couple months back. Now, there's a lot of details in this blog, so I'll link it down below if you want to read through what the finalists are looking like. But they've got a short list here for some different islands that they want people to vote which one comes into the game. And the three are looking pretty good. They've each got something a little bit different to them, so highly encourage, if this is something that interests you, check out the blog that I've got linked down below. Give it a read, and then you can vote on which of these three islands you prefer. I'm personally kind of tempted towards the Sea Gnome Outpost, because I see that there's a sailing Slayer Master, but we'll see. I'm still undecided. Moving into the back half of the year for sailing, we can expect a new Barracuda trial. So if you hadn't destroyed your keyboard and mouse already, from doing any of the other trials, don't worry, there's going to be a fourth one for you. Oh my god, dude. I was so sick of that crystal one by the end of it. Trying to get the Marlin time on that is awful. Those stupid portals, man. But they're going to add it. I know I'm going to have to do it. There's just a part of me, I have to complete the times. But maybe you're not like me and you actually really enjoy the trials, so that's going to be there for you. That'd be pretty cool. They also gave us a really vague hint that they're going to be doing some sort of quest expansion somewhere in here, but we don't know for what, so not much to say on that one. And then in the winter, they're looking to expand the ocean a little bit more. Now, you may recall when sailing launched, we didn't actually have access to all of the ocean. There's the part north of the wilderness, kind of to the east of the desert area, and then there's also the part to the west of Karen and Barlamore. So there's a couple different seas that we just don't have access to, and they're wanting to expand that up a little bit. And they're wanting to open that up some, which I would love to see as long as there's content there for it. I don't want to have empty oceans, but I think with a new Barracuda trial being somewhere, a couple of these quests, probably some more charting spots, they may have enough in this roadmap to fill these. I guess we'll just have to see. Oh, see? Is that a pun? Did I make a joke? And that is it on the Winter Summit roadmap as well. So, gosh dang, we really are eating good this year. There is so much planned, and I'm quite excited to jump into these first couple seasonal events as well. So, with that, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video.